Hi, everyone, and welcome to Clarity Mastermind. This is Veronica Rosenfeld. And today we're going to talk about clarity in business. Well, why clarity? Because you can't breathe without trees, and you can't move forward without clarity. And why Mastermind? Because the shortest way to get anywhere you want is through learning through people who already been there. And today I'm so privileged to have Don Williams with us. And Dan has 30 years of experience in entrepreneurship. I don't know about you guys, but I'm excited when you can actually have a treat of pick somebody's brain like that. So as we start, I would love to read Dan's bio first. So you'll see me on the video, so I can read that for a second. Me and Dan are reconnected on Facebook, and I'm super, super excited because he's quite amazing, and I'm very, very excited that I can share it with you guys today. Give me 1 second. Two-time #1 best-selling and #1 international best-selling author, Don Williams is the founder and CEO of Don Williams Global. DWG is dedicated to changing business across the globe, one wow experience at a time. 30-plus year entrepreneur, Don has worked with Fortune 500 and international clients on marketing, sales, customer experience, culture, and leadership strategies. So welcome, Don Williams.
Hi there, glad to be here. Thank you so much for having me, Veronica. I'm honored and humbled to be part of your group this evening.
Thank you for joining us today. So if that's okay with you, we'll just give you a floor and we'll let you talk about clarity and business, if that's okay with you.
Okay, I'll be happy to do that. So my name is Don Williams, and I live outside of Fort Worth, Texas, in Keller. Dan and I were talking about. And I'm a 30-year entrepreneur. I was born and raised in Wichita, Kansas, and I am the grandson of wheat farmers on both sides of my family. My parents were the first people off the farm. And I started my first company when I was 26 years old and knew absolutely nothing. And grew that company to 22 locations in a couple of years. No outside capital, no partners. Sold that, was blessed beyond what I deserve, I'm certain. And I've founded about a dozen companies since that time and own 4 now. And I am a serial entrepreneur, so I might start one tomorrow. Who knows? If I find a good idea, I'll be good to go. So when I talked with Veronica last week, we reconnected on Facebook, and we talked about this and strategy. And I'm going to kind of start, if you will, at the beginning of strategy, which is leadership. And because if you are not a great leader, that's the primary strategy. The best way to improve your business is to improve you. And so off screen, I'm going to kind of reference a presentation to kind of keep me on track. It's 10 o'clock here for me. I started this morning at 4. So it's been a long, busy day, and that'll be sure I don't forget anything. And then I'll be happy to make the slides available to Veronica, and she can share with the group. And then I also have a couple free gifts for you, no selling, that I'll give to Veronica, and she can make available to you as well. So everybody is business people, so many times look for tactics, and they're in their head about what they're going to do and how they need to do it, how they can make improvements. And what I've learned over the years is that the real magic comes when you get your heart in the game and you play from your heart. And that doesn't mean that you ignore your head and your brain. You can't, but the real magic starts here. And so if you want to see magical results where you double and triple and quadruple your business, that's going to start here. So I did start my first company in 1986, founded a dozen companies. I'm fortunate enough to be a 2-time #1 best-selling author. My 3rd book comes out later this month. Well, it might be July now because we're running a little short. Hopefully that'll be number one also. Most of my career, I've worked with Fortune 500 companies and international companies on strategy and execution for marketing, sales, customer experience, culture, and leadership. So typical leadership, if you think of like the military, traditional leadership is top-down, representative by control and command. And since the beginning of time, people have viewed that as real leadership. I'm not sure that it ever was, but if it was at one time, it's certainly not today. True leadership today is inverted, and transformational leadership, the leader's actually at the bottom and empowering everyone, in their hierarchy. And so the real job of the leader is to set the vision and the mission and the values and empower people to fulfill the goals. So at the end of today, I'm hopeful that you'll come away with at least one action item, one thing that you'll actually implement, because while knowledge is beneficial, it's really meaningless without implementation. If you don't act on it, it's basically just entertainment. So the things that we're going to talk about today are going to be perspective. Do we see things through the right glasses? Comfort zone, gratitude, time, the enemy of us all. Wow, I'm in the wow business. And I certainly want my customers, I want to hear the word wow when I deal with my customers. And if I hear some wows at the end, I'll know I've done a good job and I'll be able to go to bed. And then we'll also talk about a bigger cause. And I'll take those 6 threads and we'll weave those together. And hopefully that'll give you a great tool to go forward in your leadership with your business. So first off, on perspective. Very easy for us to see things from our own point of view. But a great leader needs to take their glasses off and look at things from their staff, their teammates, their customers' point of view, because frankly, they don't care about our point of view. Okay, they really care about their point of view. And so, we have to have the right perspective as we go about trying to build our business. If you look at, so everybody taking Myers-Briggs or something like that, raise your hand. Okay, so I'm an INTJ, and when I tell people that, and I do a lot of speaking on stage, they're like, oh, I can't believe that you're an introvert. I'm like, well, I am such an introvert. I can do the extrovert thing, it just wears me out. But when you look at leaders and real performers in your company, you'll find that they run the spectrum. You'll have introverts and extroverts, and they'll be in each quadrant. And so the goal there is to be an active listener so that you know how to empower your people to do the job. So many times we get busy working in our business instead of on our business, and the real value, the real multiplier is when you begin working on, not in your business. Let's talk about comfort zone for a minute. So comfort zone physics, everybody has a comfort zone, and we like it because it's comfortable. It's like our old recliner, and we never want to get rid of the old chair. It's the good one for us. The problem with that is this: if this is your comfort zone, the great accomplishments for you live outside of that comfort zone. And so I would encourage you to step out of that comfort zone. And what you'll see is if your comfort zone is like this and you step outside, your comfort zone will grow. And then you'll step outside and your comfort zone will grow. You'll step outside and your comfort zone will grow. And then pretty soon, I've been working on this for years, I with intention, get out of my comfort zone every day. Okay, so that I have a pretty large comfort zone now, because that's where the good stuff is. Gratitude. So gratitude, I'm sure Veronica has talked with you about this. Gratitude is the foundation of personal development. And so a couple of years ago in one of my companies, we began this gratitude exercise every Monday morning, which we call One Good Thing. And the leadership team, what we do in One Good Thing is everybody takes a minute and stands up, shares what they're most grateful for out of their life from the previous week. And it might be business, or it might be family, or it might be personal. It's never, oh, I'm so grateful that Don is my boss. He's the best boss. I keep waiting for that one. I've even given him the hint that it would be good to hear. I still don't get that. It's typically something fairly mundane or pedestrian, like I've been going to my 11-year-old's soccer games for 2 months, and she finally introduced me to her friends. Or I heard from my brother, or my wife and I had a date night, and it was a great night. And so, whatever it is, that's fine. We're looking for what's the most gratitude they have for something in the previous week. About 6 months ago, I'd been traveling, and I just see on reports that one of our leaders has been out, and I knew that her daughter had been pregnant. And what I didn't know was that the doctors had told the parents early on in the pregnancy that in all likelihood the baby would survive full term. If the baby did survive full term, the baby would almost certainly be stillborn. If the baby was not stillborn, the baby would die almost immediately. And there was
Dan, can I stop you for a second?
Yes, fine.
Somebody haven't muted themselves. I think it's Natalie. Natalie, do you mind to mute yourself, because it creates echo and it's very hard to hear. Natalie, could you mute yourself, please? Natalie? Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Go ahead then.
Okay.
No, I think Natalie, I think we still can hear you. If you can mute yourself, would be fantastic. Yeah, perfect. Thank you. I'm so sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
No, that's okay. So one good thing, Deborah had been out. We knew her daughter had been pregnant. We did not know the prognosis for the pregnancy. And so, and I've told this story 100 times, and we'll see if I can do it without being emotional. That week, in One Good Thing, Deborah shared with us that the baby was born the previous week and survived an hour. Now, nothing you can say, I mean, tragic, horrible, nothing you can say to make that better. But she was grateful because the baby had survived an hour. And so the grandparents and the parents were able to meet their son and grandson and hold him and tell him that they loved him. And so the thing about gratitude is this: the more you practice gratitude, the more grateful you'll become. And when I implemented that, I had been working on gratitude in my own life for about a year. And I'm in my home office, so I don't have it, but at my office, I have a little silver bucket. And in that silver bucket, it's got a little handle on it. And in that silver bucket, I carried 3 cards. And on one of the cards, it said gratitude, and 1 love, and 1 patience. I am the least patient person ever born in the history of the earth. Ask anybody who knows me, they'll tell you. And so these were 3 areas that I really needed to work on. And so after I'd done that about 6 months, I thought, I'm going to share this gift of gratitude with my team. And so as we find many times when we think we're teaching, we're actually the ones learning. And so, I was trying to teach my team about gratitude, and Deborah showed me what it was like to be grateful when it's hard and when it's not easy. And there's real beauty in that and real improvement for you in that, because the reality is this: in your business, in your family, in your personal life, you either win or you learn. Which is winning? And so you win either way, but it's a matter of go back to perspective and go back to gratitude. It's a matter of seeing things the right way. So I want to encourage you to implement one good thing in your life at least once a week. Get a journal and write down what you're grateful for, and you'll find that you'll become more grateful, and pretty soon you'll be grateful for things that you normally weren't grateful. I live in Dallas, Fort Worth. Traffic is as bad here as it is in LA. And so people will do things that will irritate you. And I merely turn and look at my wife and say, I'm grateful, and going down the road. So the next one is this. And this is huge strategy, not only for your business, but for your life. So 60 seconds in a minute, 60 minutes in an hour, 24 hours in a day, 7 days in a week, 168 hours in a week, 86,400 seconds in a day. The only thing you really control is how you spend your time. And so what you do with those 86,400 seconds every day is going to have a huge impact on where you end up in your business, family, and personal life. So one of the things, and I learned this from a fellow, Warren Rustin. Warren was the appointment secretary for President Gerald Ford. And so the appointment secretary stands outside of the Oval Office and walks in and says, I'm sorry, Mr. Ambassador from England, you have to leave. We have another appointment coming in for the president, and does that all day, every day. And Warren put a system in that's been used by every president since Gerald Ford until President Trump. And as in many things, he kind of does his own thing. But so Warren, I think, has owned 250 companies, multi-billionaire, and at a leadership academy that I attended with him, he shared something that I've implemented the day it happened, and I want to share that with you. And so what it's called is the 1-10-10-10. And what that is this. It's the first act when I awaken in the morning is I sit up, I swivel, put my feet on the ground, and answer this question. I've at least been given the gift of the start of the day. What is my number one purpose today? Now, your number one purpose is typically not your thing to do list. And if I had more time and worked with you longer, I'd tell you, let's get out of the thing to do list. Let's focus on the what, not the how, okay? But the first conscious thought of the day is, what is my purpose, my one purpose today? And you don't get out of bed until you do that. That's pretty deep for first thing in the morning, okay? But that's it. So that's the one. The 10-10-10 is this. The next thing is I'm going to spend 10 minutes reading something positive. Now, I'm a God the Father, Jesus the Son, Holy Spirit kind of guy, and I'm not telling you that to push my beliefs or sway you in any way, but only so that you understand my frame of reference. So I might spend 10 minutes in the Bible or in a book like Chicken Soup for the Soul or The Magic of Thinking Big or anything that's positive.
I don't know how to get on speaker.
So positivity for 10 minutes. The next step, okay, is to journal for 10 minutes the things that you are grateful for today. And the last 10 is to map out what you're going to do for that day. And so if you start with that strategy, if you start your day with the 1-10-10-10, I assure you that you'll see almost immediate results just on answering the question, what's my purpose today? So many days my purpose, because I'm a speaker and a trainer and a coach, many days my purpose is to be the best leader that I can be. And I know that for me to be the best leader, the hardest person for me to lead is myself. And so I have to have that discipline to do the 1-10-10. Because if I am not full, I cannot fill others. I have nothing to give. So I talk about journaling. On your gratitude, journaling, write it down. I've got books and books of journals. And, when I'm gone, my kids may find that interesting. They may not, but they might. The next thing is this. So everything I do in business, and we'll do this tonight, is this. If we have a meeting, if we do an initiative, we're going to rate everything. At the end of it, I'll be like, rate the meeting 1 to 10. Okay? Because going back to perspective, I don't know how well I did unless I hear it from you. I may think I did great, or I may think I did horrible. I walked up on stage one time, not too long ago, in Southern California with Mike Koenig's, Veronica. I came out on stage and I felt like I froze. There's 500 people in the room. I felt like I totally froze for about 30 seconds. And I powered through it and got done, but I was literally spent when I came off the stage. There was so much emotion surrounding that because I felt like I froze. And so when I went back and watched the video, you can't even tell. And so just kind of like when you're in a car wreck, you've heard people say, it got real slow and I saw the cars hit. And when you're, very excited, very emotional, that happens. And so that's what happened there. So you don't necessarily know how well you do if you don't ask your audience, if you don't ask your team. You don't really know how good a mate you are to your spouse if you don't ask. Okay? You don't really know how good a father or mother you are to your children if you don't ask. So on that 1 to 10 scale, what I want to hear, the word I want to hear is I want to hear wow. I want people to say, man, that was phenomenal. Because I know when I hear wow, I cannot run my customers off. I cannot irritate my wife too bad if I'm hearing wow. My team is not leaving me going to my competition if I hear wow. Okay. And so to shoot for anything less, you're selling yourself short. You have the ability to deliver at a super high level. So on that scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to demand wow in my personal life, my family life, my business life, and my community. And my community is not just Keller, Texas, and not just Dallas, Fort Worth, but it's all the people that I have an impact on. One thing as a leader that I want to encourage you to adopt is this. Someone is always watching you. You're always setting an example. Be certain that you're living up to the ideal they have in their mind of who and what you are. Next thing. So I'm just wrapping up a year. I'm very involved in a group called Entrepreneur Organization, 14,000 entrepreneurs around the world. And I travel the world and speak with them. And I'm just wrapping up a year where I chaired a board of 15 entrepreneurs that had at least $1 million businesses and running a big segment of EO. And one of the things I challenged them with at the beginning of the year was this, and I shared the same principles: perspective. Look at it from the other guy, the other gal's point of view, okay, because that's what matters. On time, be early or be on time, but don't be late. On money in your business and in your family, you have the opportunity to be under budget, on budget, or over budget. And it's a choice. Choose under. And then the last thing is this: whatever your goals are, whatever your aspirations are, think big, huge, ginormous, mammoth. Okay? When you think you're thinking big enough, think a little bigger or a lot bigger. Okay? So I just had a meeting earlier this week with Jeff Hoffman. If you don't know that name, Jeff Hoffman is the gentleman who invented the automated kiosk that spits out your boarding pass at the airport. Now, let me tell you, that was a good piece of technology to invent, okay? Because that went like wildfire, and he made zillions of dollars, and then he sold the company for zillions of dollars. And did he sit back and rest? No. He went on and was a co-founder of a little company by the name of Priceline, okay? And Priceline, they don't call themselves that anymore. They call themselves Booking.com, and sold that and got another $1 zillion. He had a 3-step formula for success, and it was this. Um, dream really big. And you can be bigger in your dreams than you can be in your thoughts. He didn't say think big. He said dream really big. And the second step was work hard. And only you know if you're really working hard. And that doesn't really have to do with, this is kind of a long day for me. But guess what? I'm not working tomorrow at all. Okay? Because you got to have some balance. Okay? That's right. And so, it's all good. Dream really big. Work hard. And you know when you're doing that. And the third thing for success as an entrepreneur is create value. Because when you create value, you have to understand this about money. People don't really like money. They like what money can be traded for, which is products, services, and experiences. And I've told some people that, and they're like, oh, I don't believe you, Don. I think you're wrong. And I'm like, well, okay, well, just look. In America, the average household has less than $1,000 they can put their hands on. Okay, and so as soon as they even think about money, they're trying to find ways to get rid of it for products, services, and experiences. And so all you have to do to be wildly successful in your business is be sure that your product, service, or experience is more valuable than their dollars. And trust me, they don't really like their dollars that well. Okay, and so if you think about that, you'll do fine. So dream really big, work really hard, and create value. So I think I'm running a little fast today, Veronica. It's late for me. And so I'm to the end of this presentation. I'm happy to do Q&A if you'd like. And I'm sorry I'm running a little quick.
That's good. We are completely good with that. Yeah, let's start little Q&A if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
I'm sure people have questions.
So anything I can answer.
You guys have questions for Q&A?
For anybody.
I'll jump in line first.
Go ahead.
This is Erin.
Hi, Erin.
I actually have a boss that told me once that I need to dream big because I'm capable of doing really great things. But when he told me to dream big, I thought I was dreaming big. And so I had this problem, and I compared it to if you were to, take a cruise ship, and offer a Disney cruise to somebody who is like an Aborigine on like a desert island, and you ask them anything that you could possibly want in life, what do you want? And their answer is going to be, well, I've seen shoes before. I'd like some shoes. That's dreaming big to them, right? So can you speak to not dreaming big, not because you're scared, but because you simply don't know what's out there?
So I think that's a really great concept. And I think you have a pretty good grasp of it anyway. So let's just say, and I'll see if I can do this. So if my dream is here and I start here, that looks really big. Okay. But the closer I get to it, I get more focus. I have better vision. Okay. And so what may have appeared to be my lofty goal, as I go further, I can see further. And so I want to go further. And so the biggest thing is this: if you improve every day, okay, what's big will get small and you'll be able to see bigger and bigger. Okay. It's pretty rare that somebody goes from being the neighborhood paper boy, if there is any of those anymore, and the next thing is, he's the CEO of Apple. Okay. Even Jobs and Wozniak started out in a garage and tried to build a computer, which they did. But the further they went, the further they could see. So just be sure you're moving forward, and that'll get it done. And I love your boss to encourage you to do that. So one of the byproducts of the one good thing is I could see self-images improving amongst the team. And two long-term, very valuable members in the first year came to me and said, I love it here. I've been here 10 years, but I'm leaving the company and going on to something else. And so, their self-image and self-esteem had grown to where they were going to be more fulfilled, and they were going to be more highly compensated in another company doing another job. And so at first I was like, well, that gratitude thing kind of came back and bit me. But then you got to ask yourself, am I the type of leader who's going to inspire people to be all they can be? Or am I going to be the type of leader who's going to hold people back? And of course, the only answer is to help people be all they can be. Erin, where are you from?
I'm here in San Diego.
San Diego. I love San Diego. Great weather. Another question somewhere. Don't be shy.
Yeah, Don, you are awesome. I believe in your dreams. I just wanted to give a couple comparisons. You are like a mixture between Bob Berg and Andy Andrews. I love you, and I love your heart. And you can definitely tell that you are a farmer because you got like this hard work mentality, but you have this grace that comes with being a Christian. I love it. So when you were putting your book out there, you said you were a bestseller. Were you rejected quite a bit, or did you self-publish, or did you just make a publishing company?
Great question. And man, do I have a story for you.
Yes.
So
yes.
One of my companies, I'm in the contact center business. We do outbound business-to-business cold calls. We're like the last people in America who do that. And so we work typically for Fortune 500 companies. We're very good at it, and we charge a lot. And so it's a great business. So the first book that I wrote was an industry book called the Do-It-Yourself Outbound Contact Center Toolbox. And I wrote it out of an ornery spot in my heart. We would have prospects, spend time with the sales staff that were not qualified and would not be able to buy. But one of our philosophies is we want to leave everybody better than we found them. And so I wrote the book so that we could just say, hey, I'm just going to send you a book that'll teach you how to do it yourself. And so, that wasn't very pure of heart to do that, but that is why I did it. And so I sat down at a keyboard and started writing. And I would not say I'm a good writer. I'm a good talker, okay, but I'm not necessarily a good writer. And so it took me about a year. And when we finally got to the end, it was the equivalent of my brain going into the delivery room, and the doctor and the nurses were there, and I did not get an epidural, and I said some things that were not very pleasant, and there was a lot of emotion, and it was a big mess, and we had a book. And I said, I'm never doing that again. So we mounted a best-selling campaign. Okay. Yeah, I can see the question on your face. So there is a way, and it happens, I don't care if it's Amazon, Wall Street Journal, New York Times. What you see in front of the curtain is not necessarily what actually happened behind the curtain. And in my call center, we help New York Times best-selling authors achieve that status. And now, the only way to become a best-selling author is you have to sell more books than everybody else. That still has to happen. But there are ways to market to help that to happen, okay? Not just to hope somebody will walk into a bookstore or go out on Amazon, find your book and buy it. Much the same as if you started a company, it would really be a bad strategy. It would be zero strategy to say, I open this company and people are just going to show up and form a long line and buy my product, service, or experience. Okay. So the second book, remember I was never going to write another book, but the second book I started almost immediately. And but what I learned there was this, I did not write that book. I talked that book. So if you have a smartphone, I can teach you how to talk a book. And so I recorded the book, I transcribed the audio, I edited, I hired a professional editor to re-edit, okay, and I got a much better book, and the delivery was much easier and much smoother, and then I did a bestseller campaign both in the U.S. and internationally, and so that book was a #1 bestseller, Romancing Your Customer, and I'll tell you how you can get a copy of that free before we're done. My third book is about Build Your Big Legacy. So all of you are much younger than I am. And so one of my goals, but it should be a goal of a very young person, is this, is how am I going to leave my world a better place when I'm gone? How am I going to leave this job? How am I going to leave these children? How am I going to leave these people that I have influence with? And so the third book is Build Your Big Legacy. And number 4 and 5 are pounding on the inside of my head, begging to come out. I think I'm going to write them simultaneously. And I probably am an author for the rest of my life.
What are 4 and 5 about?
I don't want to tell you yet. I'll give you a couple free offers tonight, and if you accept them and you want, I'll put you on an email list and I'll let you know when they come out, because I'll want you to buy 1 or 2. Yeah.
I'll buy them.
Here's one hint: is one's going to be about gratitude.
Great.
Yeah. So other questions?
I have a question.
Yes, Veronica.
I actually have several.
Okay.
First of all, if it's okay, what's the software you use for Talk the Book?
Oh, so you have an audio recorder on your, if you have iPhone or Android?
Oh, so you just record, you're not, and then you just hire the service that transcribes for you, right?
Well, okay, so that was the first part of the answer. Okay, here's the second part. You can use a service called rev.com, or Trint, TRINT.com, and those services will, so if you record 10 minutes of audio, they'll charge you $10 to transcribe that and give that back to you in text. Okay, and that's how I did the second book. Now the next iteration is an app called Otter. So just like the animal that lives in the ocean, or OTTER, and it's a .ai, I think. And so Otter is, Otter's amazing. So I don't have a phone in here to show you, but literally I can press Otter, hold it up here while I'm speaking, and you can see it transcribe what I'm speaking real time. Okay. The other thing about Otter's absolutely free. It will cost you nada for 10 hours of transcription.
Oh, wow.
10 hours is a lot. Okay. After 10 hours, you have to pay something. I've never done more than 10 hours in a month. Okay. So I'm a horrible note taker. Though I like notes, I want to have a record of meetings. And so when I walk into a meeting, I just ask, is it okay if I audio record this meeting? And I want to be sure I get permission. And then I just enable Otter and start it up. And I let it go.
It's OTTER, right?
OTTER.ai. And Otter works on iOS or Android.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
My 11-year-old wants to write the books in 7-year-olds. So I'm trying to find the way that we can actually finish this summer.
I love that idea. I wish I had started much earlier.
It's so much a shame she haven't finished the book. I'm like, you're 11. What are you talking about? So I want to finish that in terms of psychology more than anything else.
Well, just remember, when they're 11, the dreaming part of their brain is really big. It's really active. And so they can really dream when they're small, when they're young.
I do my best. That's what I'm known for. couple people who work with me here, like they know that's what I know for. The question I have for you is a personal question, but I think a lot of people can relate to that. How do you balance gratitude and the feeling that you're still not where you want to be?
So who said I'm not where I want to be?
Not you, I'm talking about me.
Oh, okay. Okay.
How
So
would I balance? What advice would you give me to balance?
here's what I
What would be the tools to make me happier where I am? Because I have this huge dream, like a huge, and it does not happen 500 miles an hour. It happens 300 miles an hour.
So I think so many people define success and where they want to be in terms of dollars, and I think that's unfortunate. And I think where money's concerned, you got a couple choices. You can think and live in the land of plenty, or the land of just enough, or the land of not enough. And so I highly recommend you think in the land of plenty, because what you think on, remember, is where you will end up. You cannot end up in a destination you do not see. Okay. But then as far as being content, I can show you a lot of miserable millionaires and even a few miserable billionaires. On their deathbeds, Howard Hughes and J. Paul Getty, the two wealthiest men in the world at the times of their death, were still trying to make money. So money, like the Beatles sang, money won't bring you happiness. Okay. I think real contentment is in living a life you would not trade with someone else. And so I think if you'll hold your life to that standard, I think your satisfaction and contentment and peace will greatly increase. And probably the money will increase too. Sometimes with finance, a little less focus can be a good thing. So I'm in a mastermind with 7 gentlemen. I've been with them about 6 years, and we get together once a month for 4 hours. And then once a year, we take a 4-day trip and we go someplace expensive and fun. And we work on stuff, but then we play. We work on stuff, then we play. And a topic that we talked about last retreat was, why is it that in some of my greatest achievements in business, I wasn't really working very hard? And that was a common thread with each person. And, so we heard answers like, well, it was luck. And I'm like, there's no luck. Okay. But there is timing. Okay. And there is, I told you I was a grandson of wheat farmers on both sides. So, farmers do all this work, and then they hope it rains, and they hope the snow comes at the right time, and they hope they get an amount of sunshine. And it's like totally out of their control. Either they get a bumper crop, or a hailstorm comes in and wipes it out. But, business is kind of like that too. You do the best you can every day. Keep your vision on the horizon, and business will take care of itself. But I strongly urge you to not judge your life, not judge your contentment just on dollars. Judge it on, am I living a life that I would not trade for anybody else? So hopefully that answered that question.
That's exactly what I'm gonna ask myself every morning.
There you go. So I was 40, and I'd been married for 15 years, the mother of my children, and that didn't work out. We've been married a long time. And so she left the house and the boys and me and came home one day, and everything in the house was gone except the clothes dryer. So if it wasn't nailed to the wall, it all left. And so, you know, I had two boys, and you know, you get three guys in a house, and it's a little bit like a frat house anyway. It doesn't make any difference what their ages are. I mean, you know, the dining room became the wrestling room, and you know, and the long hallway. I live in a pretty big house, but it's all one floor, and so there's a hallway you could shoot archery or bowl or do whatever you want to. And that hallway, which was always like, quit running in the hallway. Well, that became the raceway, and so, you know, for a while we had no stuff, but I mean, both boys, they're 24 and 31 now. They would look back and say, you know, we didn't have any stuff, but it was fun, and we loved it. And so things, and money is just a thing, you know, won't bring you contentment. Now, I also am not a believer in you should be impoverished. I do not believe that. Okay. And I think most money problems are a result of mindset and what your vision is. And so if you're all business owners, and I'm guessing that you are, you're all obviously interested in personal development. Okay. And so to me, you know what, I want to develop the physical me, the mental me, the emotional me, the spiritual me, and the financial me, because I'm all of those people kind of wrapped into one, and I want to improve each of those pieces individually. What other questions?
What are the free, it's the last question I ask, and I give group back the place. What are the free books that change your life? But I think that question can help everybody.
3 books that changed my life. I am a voracious reader. And even as a young man, in my 20s, I did not own a television. And I would read sometimes 3, 4, 5 books a week. I didn't sleep much, and I was a reader. And so I'll give you the first 3. And so I've already told you, you know, that I was raised in a Christian family, and I am a God, Jesus, Holy Spirit guy. And so the Bible would be number 1. And I grew up with that at a very young age, and literally went to a little white church in Kansas, you know, just what you would kind of picture. The next one, I was not very comfortable speaking with people as a young boy. And so, and this is going to seem a little weird, but How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, I think written in 1936. So I read that, I was maybe 10 or 11, and I read it because I had a hard time. I was not a good small talker. So like even with my friends, you know, I just was awkward. I wasn't good at it. And I was really awkward when it came to talking to girls. And so I thought, if I read this book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, surely I'll be able to bend that a little bit to where I'll be a good talker with girls. And I don't know that actually happened, but I became a much better conversationalist because of that book. And I'll share this with you. So I have private clients that I do leadership coaching with, and some are entrepreneurs, but I also have corporate clients. And so I have a senior VP of taxation for one of the big 3 American auto manufacturers, who's a client of mine, big corporate guy. And we're working on gratitude and leadership, because gratitude is the foundation of that. And I just gave him a copy of How to Win Friends and Influence People. And he's probably, I don't know, he's in his late 50s, had never read it. And I said, this book is going to be a really good starting point, okay, for how you're going to start relating to people. Because again, it's not how I think I did, it's how they think I did. Okay, so that would be book 2. And then the third one in that same time frame is I read Norman Vincent Peale's The Power of Positive Thinking. And Norman Vincent Peale was a minister in New York City, and so there's scripture through that. If you've not read the book and you don't care for that part, just read past that. Okay, it's good for you, but read past it anyway if you don't want to. But it's an excellent book, and it's written about the same time, maybe even earlier, maybe in the 20s. But phenomenal book to kind of set your foundation and your gyroscope for how you're going to deal with people and how you're going to handle self-talk. Are you going to be positive, and are you going to think big? So that's 3. But I'll also tell you this: I probably read 50 books a year. I try and read at least a book a week. Here's an interesting stat: the average American reads how many books in a year? Do you know? Any guesses?
5.
3, 5, 1.
2.
Yeah. Well, the reality is the average American reads 1 book, and the way they define that reading 1 book means they read some of the 1 book. Okay. The average CEO of a Fortune 500 company, do you know how many books they read in a year?
60.
55. And so here's one thing we know about leaders. Leaders are learners, and leaders are lifelong learners. Because, in my 20s, I thought I knew everything. In my 50s, I've realized I know almost nothing. I know a piece, but there's so much more that I don't know. And one thing I really had to work on in my own life for learning is this. So, words are really important, and they color our attitudes. And so when I use the word discrimination, most people, that's a down word. But really, there's nothing wrong. I'm a very, very discriminating person. I'm very picky about where I eat and what I eat and who I associate with. And that's not bad. It's just when we say it racially or sexually or something like that it becomes bad. So I just use that as an example. Another word that we have this negative connotation that it doesn't deserve is bias. And so really all bias is your frame of reference. And so to be the best learner that you can be, you have to approach things with a beginner's mind, not ignoring your bias, not ignoring your frame of reference, but being open to the fact that I may be wrong. I may not be accurate. Okay, and truly looking at different viewpoints with a beginner's mind. And you'll surprise yourself. Every once in a while, you'll find something that you'll be like, I used to think like this, and now I think like that. So it's a good way to approach learning.
Thank you. Daniel Carnegie's, it's the book that you described. It's the first book that actually was a clue in my life, what my life purpose is. And it was late 1980s, so I was 8 or 9 years old. And at that time, people don't realize that the self-development books in ex-Soviet Union were forbidden. So if that found out in your household, you're in a lot of trouble. So my sister is a very vivid leader who reads from the age of 3. So my parents took the book and they put next to me because I had dilated pupils at that day. I didn't go to school, meaning that I can't physically read. And don't ask me how I did it, but I read the book in a matter of hours. I've never ever read the book faster than that. And I just ate it all up. and it's completely shifted my life for the rest of my life. So and it was the first experience, because I didn't like to read books, and I've learned that I don't like to read regular books. I like self-development books, but I haven't seen them until actually much later in life, until I moved here. So thank you for sharing that.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And you bring up an interesting point. There's a pretty significant percentage of the population that does not like to read. And so the good thing today is this, and I can't say this about my books, I've not done it yet, but most books you can get in audio, to where you can listen to them when you're in the car or whatever you're doing. And so it doesn't matter, okay, whether it's text or audio, video. I will tell you this, you retain so much more. So one of the things I talk about as far as rich forms of communication in the Romancing Your Customer book is this. If you have a high value meeting or a very complex issue you're discussing, you want to do that with your noses 3 feet apart. You want to be in the same room, eye to eye. And the reason for that is 70% of that communication is nonverbal. And it's not just inflection and emphasis and facial expression. It literally is the energy that your brains are picking up off each other. If you can't do that, if you cannot be face-to-face, then you want to do what we're doing today. So we're kind of artificially face-to-face. We have Zoom or Skype or FaceTime, but there are technologies where, you can do that. You can get as close to face-to-face as I can, except Aaron, you're in San Diego and I'm in Fort Worth. Okay. If you can't do that, then you want to be audio. You want to have a telephone call, because at least on the phone with my voice, I can use inflection. I can emphasize. I can emote. Okay. Because people will feel your emotion. And then all the text, which all the kids want to do, their thumbs are going like this. You want to say, hey, I'll see you in 10 minutes. I'll be 10 minutes late. That's the kind of stuff you want to do with that. Nothing that's important. Okay. When my kids were young, I was like, just pick up the phone and call. If you want a date, call her. They're like, oh, you're so old. And I'm like, I may be, but trust me, the phone call will get you much further than the text. And so, whatever. Other questions?
I have a question, Don. Can you repeat the third book that changed your life? I didn't catch the title.
The Power of Positive Thinking by Dr. Norman Vincent Peale.
Got it. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. I read both those books. I was probably 10, 11, 12 years old. I've read both of them probably a dozen times. And they're good places to start. And if you email me, I'll give you all my contact information. I'll take pictures of my bookshelves, and you can see stuff that I've read in the last year or so. There is so many great thought leaders in the world today that you want to read a lot of stuff. There's so much good stuff out there. And in fact, I'll encourage you to embrace the thought leader that resides in you. Even if you don't think there really is one, I assure you, you're in there. So started a dozen companies, been blessed way beyond what I deserve everywhere. But a couple of years ago, wrote the first book and then the second book. And so today I spend all my time speaking, training, coaching. And I finally figured out what I was supposed to do when I grow up. Turned out I was 55 before I figured it out. I'm just glad I wasn't 65 or 75 before I finally figured it out. And so when I coach, train, and consult and help other people hit their goals, that is totally my purpose. That is my why. It's what I'm supposed to do. I am the most fulfilled. It just so happens to turn out, because of the value that's created, it's extremely profitable. But that really had nothing to do with the genesis of it.
Hi, Don. Hello.
Raul?
Hello. Hello.
Oh, Raul joins us all the way from India. I love Raul.
Hi, Rahul.
Hello. Good morning, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening. So, Don, my question is how I can find my gratitude because I didn't get the very good, uh, strong point. Like how do you define gratitude?
So tell me this, Rahul. So it's morning there. What's the best thing that happened to you yesterday?
For me, yesterday something happened. Like I received. Basically, I'm from India, so money making is my strong point. So I'm making money, and it's like I have received yesterday almost $300 to $400, which is uh, the first time I have received in a day. In a day.
Awesome. Congratulations. So let me ask you, do you ever have a day where you receive $10?
Yes.
Okay. So if you have those kind of days, when you have a day like you had yesterday, $300 or $400, that's something you can truly be thankful and grateful for, yes?
Yeah.
Yeah. So a way to help drive that home. So many times we have events in our lives. People do things for us. We make money. Somebody smiled at us, whatever. Okay. That we'd be grateful for it, but we're so busy. And entrepreneurs are kind of like this. So you hit a big goal and your team comes in and says, hey, we hit the goal. And you're like, okay, great. Now what about this over here? And you're like, well, wait a minute. We just had a win here. We could actually celebrate that win for a minute before we looked at this zillion other things we have on our thing to do list. So if you'll find those things that are wins and then just write them down in a journal, and even if it feels awkward at first, the more you do it, the easier it will get. And after a period of time, you'll be a gratitude junkie.
Oh, thank you. And one more question.
Yes, sir.
I'm not reading any book because it's making me bored. So how you can make me to read more books, because I wanted to achieve something that I'm still working for.
Okay, so the question, if I heard it right, was how do I force myself to read more books?
Yes.
So let me ask you this, do you enjoy reading?
Sorry?
Do you enjoy reading?
No, I don't.
Okay, so you sound like a perfect candidate for audiobooks. Listen to your books.
Okay. Yeah, that could be. And do you have any recommendation for me? Like it would be I will be as a beginner.
So I would tell you this. Have you read How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie?
Okay. Can you write the name?
Raul, I'll let you know later. I'll text you the name of the book. So
And
Okay.
you'll be able to find that on the, you have Amazon in India, yes?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay. Well, I just spent 25 days in China. No Amazon in China. No Facebook. No Google.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Because
So,
I'm from I'm in technology field, so I know
okay.
those stuffs.
Well, you'll be able to find that on audio. And so just start listening to it. See if that's a good way for you to get learning.
Yeah, that could be interesting.
Okay.
and if
Good.
I can add to that, Raul, like for me, reading is hard because of dyslexia. So I do audio. The moment I always knew I was waiting for the technology to keep up with my abilities. But I know I've been always criticized for that, but I see that my mini me, my 11-year-old does the same thing. Some people, like I retrieve more from video content. There is a reason I do Zoom and a YouTube channel. So I found a lot of things from videos where I've learned. Like for me, and I'll be super honest here, if I go to a lot of events and people usually, and if you pay attention, they don't say, oh, have you read the book? They say, have you heard about that book? And I heard about almost every spiritual book there is there known about because I watch Oprah Winfrey Super Soul Sunday religiously. And then I listen to some of those books, but I know basically content of every major book, and I know about every major author because of that. So just you could find your channel of finding that information. It might not necessarily be a book reading.
Very true. There was a young lady that had a question too. I can't see your name.
Hi, Don. It's Raquel Sharper. I want to say that thank you for spending your time today. I appreciate everything that you've been sharing.
Thank you.
I thought that it was really valuable because who I am today is somebody totally different than who I was 10 years ago. And if somebody said, well, and came up to me, or if I came up to me 10 years ago and said, hey, you're going to be speaking, you're going to be flying all over, and you're going to be doing all this stuff, then I would have probably looked at myself and I would have said, yeah, I don't think so. And it's interesting because, like you said, Jeff Bezos started off in a garage, and look at, he's one of the richest men in the world now. And it actually just starts by like taking action. It starts by taking gratitude. And it's funny because one of the things that I've really learned, and I'm still trying to master it, is in the journey I run across new people. And in the journey I run across new opportunities. And sometimes I've been actually recently saying, well, that could possibly be the opportunity that I'm looking for, even though it's something I've never experienced before. Because if you would have told me 10 years ago I could speak in front of a room of 1,000 people and not be afraid, I would think that you were crazy. But now it doesn't bother me, right? So it's kind of in your journey understanding that sometimes you run along and you meet somebody new, and it's trying to figure out, because of the way today is, there's so much information that comes at us. There's so many people that we're in contact with. So how to actually decipher the good opportunity from the bad opportunity, but also enjoying the journey, because knowing that, hey, this might be what's really next for you, and not responding with your triggered no.
So I'm so glad you brought that up. And I have a couple thoughts I'd like to share. So I think that in my journey, many people would say Don is a totally different person than he was 10 years ago. Maybe that's true, I don't know. But I think for me, it's more of this. I'm becoming more of the person I always was. I'm not changing. This is who I really am. And for whatever reason, everybody is kind of two people. The person they want the world to think they are, and the person that they really are. The person that's on stage and the person that's behind the stage. And what I've seen in my life the last couple of years is I was like, I don't want to be the two people anymore. And so even with some of my clients, I'm like, if we can just get the backstage, the real you, to poke your head out of the curtain, and then to step onto the stage and to just be the real you, the world will love the real you. And it will not be able to stand the other you. And then what happens is once the real you steps on the stage of your life, the other you goes, and they're just gone, because they were just a vapor anyway. And so I love the fact that, you feel different, but I would promote to you that this is the real you, and that other person, for whatever reason, okay, you have not peeled back the layers of you to get to the real you. And so I applaud you on doing that. My other thought is this. So entrepreneurs have a fatal case, and it's universal. And I'm going to call it of the oh shiny disease. So I'm strolling along doing my thing, and something comes along that's shiny, and I'm like, oh, shiny. Okay. And pretty soon you're seeing opportunities everywhere, and it's very easy to become distracted. That doesn't mean that one of those opportunities might not be the real path for you. But here's what would help keep you focused and help you determine if one of those opportunities is in fact the next step for you is this. When you have clarity of vision on where you're going, that is the thermometer by which you judge all of those shiny activities. And it'll be real clear. Something will present itself and you'll be like, that's really cool, but it's not for me. Okay? And if it's one of those that's so shiny and it fits the clarity of vision for your life, you'll bring it in and it'll be easy and you'll be powerful at it. Or so it's been for me.
I agree with you on that. I do realize that now I am living like the true me. What I was living a decade plus ago was like, and I think, I can't remember the young lady, she said it, like, people said, well, this is what you can do, and then you would go and follow that, not realizing that there were other opportunities there for you. So knowing that I'm in this discovery place and knowing that, it's just like, wow, what's next? What am I, if I'm on the island, what is it that I haven't experienced yet that I might love? So yeah, I'm in that place knowing that whoever I was yesterday, definitely not that individual. I would never want to go back. I would be severely unhappy. And knowing who I am today and knowing that I'm really happy with where I'm at today, thinking, wow, what could possibly be next in that dream big scenario that we've been talking about. Like, what is it that I haven't experienced yet that's possible, it's out there? And also being present in the shiny object syndrome.
Yeah. Well, the shiny objects, they can be a little distracting,
Yes.
at times. But I think one thing that helps you clarify your vision, and this is very common in business. So when I opened my first company, I became a competitor to the gentleman that I worked for. So one day I worked for this gentleman. The next day I was his competitor. I learned that business and I thought, I can do this better than he can. And I no longer, he was not a good leader. I always said I could be a great follower if I would just find a good leader. It's hard for me to find one, so I just went and did my own. And then, it took me a while to figure out how to be a good leader, because originally I had that command, traditional leadership thing, and, that doesn't really work. But, I lost my train of thought where I was going with that. It's been a long day.
You were the competitor. You became the competitor and finding like a good leader.
Okay,
Don't that help?
Thank you. Oh, that helps a lot. Thank you so much. So as you're casting your vision from where you go from here, many times there's someone you see or know of that the competitor in you says, I think I can do that better than they can do that. And so, I went to a lot of conferences and I would see somebody get up on stage and even some really big name people on big circuits. And when I left, I was just like, it was good, but I think I can do better. And that's an easy way, a very common way for entrepreneurs to set their vision. Is I want to do that, and I want to do it better than they did. And there's nothing wrong with that. Competition is a good thing.
I agree with that.
It's a good thing. It's healthy. As long as you don't take it to an unhealthy spot, it's a good thing. Where are you, Raquel?
Where am I? Where do I live?
Yeah,
I'm in Las Vegas.
Las Vegas?
Las Vegas. I'm originally from New York.
Yeah.
So being in Las Vegas was part of a vision that I had many moons ago when I was unhappy. That person that I wouldn't want to be now.
Good for you.
Mm-hmm.
My vision takes me to Las Vegas about 4 times a year. Uncle Caesar is my favorite place. They like me there.
I'm sure they do.
Yeah, they do.
They have a way of making special people feel special.
They do. Yeah. Nobody really does it much better than they do, actually.
I heard something really interesting from a friend of mine who's worked for the Disney company for a long time. They said, do you want to know who Disney's biggest competition is? And they were visiting me in Las Vegas in my house. And I said, no, who's Disney's competition? They said, Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Las Vegas is Disney's competition.
Yeah, so there was a book, Tom Peters wrote a book, I think in the late 90s, called In Search of Excellence. And he put the light on about a dozen companies, Disney being one. And when you see behind the curtain to how Disney operates, it's earth-shattering. And, you know, in your company, so that's one of the things we talk about in customer experience, you know, you want to deliver value that far exceeds a customer's dollars, and that's how you have great sales. And then you want to deliver wow experiences every time you have an interaction with a customer, okay? Because no matter how much of a great reputation you have with a customer, and you've had 50 interactions, they were all great, you can destroy it in one interaction. It's kind of like a man with a woman. He can do really great, and then he can do something really stupid and destroy 10 years of you know, what he's built up. And so Disney is one of those companies that it's almost flawless every time. It's frictionless. You come away with the wow. You know, Zappos. Now Zappos sells the same shoes everybody else does. They don't compete on price. They're a little higher than everybody else, but it's fun. Okay. And so people buy. And so you want to be sure that you're delivering that kind of frictionless, easy, fun experience. And my second book, and the one I'll give you all free if you like, is Romancing Your Customer. Because when you're doing customer experience at the highest level, it's a little like romance. And romance has an element of, I'm always thinking about it from your point of view. I'm always got the right perspective. And there's some an element of surprise. You don't know everything I'm going to do. And I'm going to be so authentic that I cannot avoid being vulnerable. And, you know, when you say vulnerable, people are like, ooh, I don't want to be vulnerable. That sounds bad. But it's where the magic really happens.
I agree with that. I agree that the magic happens in the uncomfortable. And the magic also happens in the wow.
Yeah. And I'll tell you all this, you know, if you hold your hand out and put your hand to the ceiling, and then you'll close it into a fist, and you can go ahead and do it right now, and then you pull it up into a muscle, every one of you, go ahead and do it. And let me just tell you, you're far better, far smarter, and far stronger than even you think. And so remember that, okay? Don said, I'm far better, far smarter, and far stronger than even I think. And you haven't even begun to tap your full potential. And that's true.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Don, it's a true privilege to have you there, to have you here, and we can have you all night, but it's probably almost midnight where you are.
It is almost midnight where I am.
Ooh.
So can we rate the meeting on a scale of 1 to 10?
11.
10 or 20.
25.
100%. Thank you.
Yes, definitely.
Thank you so much.
Oh, it's 10x actually.
Very
I'm
good.
101.
That's
so
about
grateful
1,000.
I'm so
101.
grateful to get to meet you. And I'll send you a copy of the presentation. I'll send you the slides, and I'll send you 2 offers. One, you can get my Romancing Your Customer book, or you can go to my website, Don Williams Global, and there's a free, you can go to Amazon and buy it if you like, but I'll give it to you free if you come to my website. And you can get that book. And then there's another website, wowblueprint.com, because I'm in the wow business. And that's a 26-page, I guess I'd call it an ebook. And you can get that free. And they'll download automatically for you. You have to give your email address so it knows where to send it. But other than that, there's no obligation.
Dan, what I think the best to do, I enter you to, and you can enter yourself later. I'll enter you to, I have a thread of 50 people on Clarity Mastermind, like a message thread.
Okay.
So I'll enter you there. I didn't enter you because I didn't want to bombard you, as busy as you are. So I'll enter you there. You can post all the information, interact with people, and then if you choose to enter yourself later, I have no hard feelings. I understand.
Okay. Thank you so much. Such a pleasure to meet you all. I'm very grateful. And from Fort Worth, Texas, I'm out.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you. Thank
Bye-bye.
you,
Thank you,
you did a great
Don.
job.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank you,
I
Joe.
love creating value. That was awesome.